Hey everybody, so I made a video not that long ago about the top 10 Spider-Man PS4 costumes. I decided that, I said in the last video, it's another Spider-Man PS4 video, and if you can read the title of this video, it's about his allies. Just people who Peter, whether had a positive relationship or not, it's just people who don't particularly hate Peter or Spider-Man or just anyone who's not a supervillain. That's the better answer, what I'm going to say. So, in no particular order, here is the 10 allies of Spider-Man that I want to see in Spider-Man PS4. We're going to knock this out of the park with someone who is obviously recently talked about, and that is Tony Stark, Iron Man. So, in Spider-Man Homecoming, Tony Stark was sort of a mentor towards Peter Parker, and that was kind of the relationship that they were going off, is like Tony Stark is like a father figure, which I didn't particularly mind. It's just kind of cool that Peter's now gonna like just listen to his advice, but definitely not see him as like a dad. Because if you watch Spider-Man Homecoming, towards the end, he even outright rejects the Iron Spider suit, which in Infinity War he's using, so not much of a real rejection there now, is it? Moving along the lines of other characters, let's go along with a character that was only talked about very recently, actually, at least as recently as I can remember, and that is Moon Knight. Moon Knight is kind of a really cool character. I know he has a connection with Spider-Man, and he has multiple identities, brain farted. He has multiple identities, and one of them is based on Spider-Man. Next on my mind is Wolverine. If anyone were to have a bro relationship with Spider-Man, other than a couple more that I'm about to talk about, it's going to be Wolverine. Wolverine is a mutant, and the mutants aren't exactly really talked about as much anymore. In Marvel Legacy, Wolverine just came back, Logan, or James Howlett, depending on who you are. I see him as any or, but it's nice to see that he's kind of back, I guess. Seems like a weird and pointless comeback, but whatever. It's up to the reader what they think. Next on the list is Max Modell. He's one of Peter's mentors. He's from Horizon High or Horizon Labs, depending on what Spider-Man you follow. But with the whole LGBT community being as popular as it is, or I shouldn't say popular, as forever growing as it is, with the recent Marvel Spider-Man cartoon coming out, Max is in there. And I bet a lot of people are wondering, well, you just mentioned LGBT. What does that have to do with anything? Well, I bet you didn't know that Max Modell is gay. He had a wedding, and it was great. And I'm really happy that he did, because it's one of those things where it's like, you don't really see too much of something like that, other than it was an X-Men character's wedding. I can't remember which one. If any of you remember, please put it in the comments so I can actually read it, because there's a lot of Marvel weddings, Marvel relationships that I do want to get into and read. Now, speaking of relationships and romance and all that, next up I want to see is Mary Jane. There's actually a note in Peter Parker's apartment in the behind-the-scenes Spider-Man PS4 video, which, if you look really closely, there's a note from Mary Jane on there. So I kind of want to see what she looks like in this universe. She can have the crazy hair like she did in the Todd McFarlane art, or she can have her straight hair. I'm showing what she looks like with her straight hair and like what she's commonly associated with. And by the way, whenever I use any photos for my videos, they are just for whatever is most commonly accepted as the general appearance of these characters. Now, one character that has barely changed his appearance is this guy, J. Jonah Jameson. Now, I know Peter's a scientist in this game, but I really do want to see J. Jonah Jameson. I want to see, like, oh, he's used to work for the Daily Bugle, or he just knows JJ, and he's sort of important in Spider-Man's mythos, to the point where it's like J. Jonah was verbally abusive, and he was just very much an asshole. And I'm just really hoping that they bring JJ back onto, media. And if anyone were to do his voice, we all know we got to get J.K. Simmons on that role. I mean, come on. No, duh. Next on our list is actually a friend of Spider-Man's, and that is Luke Cage, Power Man. He recently got a show on Netflix, and he's also in Marvel's Defenders, so he's actually rocking that show. I love all those Netflix shows. Yes, even Iron Fist. Light up your pitchfork, your torches and pitchforks, and just come over to my door. I don't care. I love all those shows, and Luke Cage is my second favorite out of all those shows. And you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, it's your second favorite, but you're saying, oh, he's awesome, then who are you going to be talking about? Well, he's going to be coming by after this next guy. So with Marvel Legacy coming up, I am very happy to see a certain group of people come back. They've been absent for the comics forever, and I genuinely love this team. It is the Fantastic Four. Now, if we're going to get specific, I'm going to talk about the Human Torch, because he has a more positive relationship with Peter, and it's more prominent in Ultimate Spider-Man, but Human Torch and Spidey are very much like best friends with each other. But I would just want the Fantastic Four in general, and I know it's a cop-out because it's all four of them, but like I said, I'm talking about Human Torch in specifically. But bet you didn't know, in Spider-Man's first issue, he tried joining the Fantastic Four, but he decided, I'm not going to join them because they don't make money. Now back on the subject of the Defenders, you're probably wondering, oh, I talked about Luke Cage, well, who's the best? And I mentioned even Iron Fist. But we're not talking about Iron Fist, we're talking about Daredevil, no shit. Daredevil is Spider-Man's bro. Like, I see him as Spider-Man's best superhero friend. Daredevil helped him out, like, train his spider sense, so maybe they could talk about that sort of relationship that they had between Matt Murdock and Peter Parker, and call my bluff or call me wrong on this one, but I do believe he was Peter's lawyer in the trial of Peter Parker. Now, anyways, so you're probably wondering, okay, we got through 9 of them, and I mentioned that there's 10 of them. What is my number one pick? To me, this character is extremely important to the Spider-Man mythos, not because this was a convoluted thing, not because a lot of people don't like this character for something that he tried to become, but because this character just means something to me personally. I won't get into it, but it is Ben Reilly. I don't care if it's Ben Reilly or Kane. I just want a clone, but I just want Ben if we're going to be talking about anything specific. The reason why I would want a clone, or specifically Ben, is to see how far along we got with PS4 Spider-Man. Of course, this Spider-Man's experienced, he's a scientist. He's in his 20s or 30s, I can't remember which one, but he's got experience under his belt. And one of these experiences was Ben Reilly, and he just was a part of Spider-Man forever. And a lot of people don't like him because he tried covering up as Spider-Man at one point, which I didn't mind. It gave me my favorite costume. Also, I was born in 1997, so thankfully I escaped the whole clone crap that came along. But I gotta say, it was a complicated mess of things, and I'm just glad that it's over with. But I also can't help but think Spider-Man is not as important as he would be if it wasn't for his triumphant return. And for that, you kind of have to thank Ben Reilly for this one. So I guess that is my 10 Spider-Man allies that I want to see in Spider-Man PS4. Now, next Spider-Man PS4 video, it is going to be another top 10. Don't worry. I will be done making top 10s, at least for Spider-Man PS4, unless you guys actually want to know more things about my Spider-Man PS4 stuff. Let me know, and let me know in the comments, and I'll say, hey, here's another video, I don't know, top 10 places I want to see. I don't goddamn know. But long story short, these are my top 10 allies that I want to see, and on my next Spider-Man PS4 top 10 video, it's going to be about the top 10 villains I want to see. And I will definitely set this up as an actual list for the villains, at least, because there's one villain I have one villain that I am in love with. I love this villain. He is my favorite. He has so much potential, but he's kind of laughed at in the whole Spider-Man community. So hopefully this character will have some sort of justice. So with that, I guess I'll catch you guys in my top 10 Spider-Man PS4 villains list on that video. Unless I make a video in between. Who knows? But next time we talk about Spider-Man, it's going to be about the villains. I promise.